imposition. Sa tingin nyo, kaninong branch nagsisimula ang power of taxation? Levy or imposition. So it's under the legislative. Okay? Ang pangalawa is assessment. Then finally, we have collection. So levy, so that's legislative act. So doon muna magsisimula yan. Kaya tinatawag siya na impact of taxation. Okay? Assessment is administrative in character. Ito kay BIR na to. Okay? The determination of the correct amount of applicable tax. And finally, so administrative din in character ang collection ng tax. Okay? The BIR and the BOC or the Bureau of Customs. Okay? Now, theories of taxation. First is the lifeblood doctrine. Okay? So, necessity and benefits protection theory. Class, ganito siya. Ang isang citizen, hindi siya pwedeng magreklamo na sasabihin niya, ayaw kong magbayad ng tax. Okay? So, sabi niya, wala na kasi madamot ako eh. So, ayaw kong magbayad ng tax. Okay? So, hindi pwede yun dahil taxes are the lifeblood of the government. So, without money, the government cannot survive. If the government cannot survive, the nation can fall into chaos. Okay? So, and we don't want that to happen, right? So, ganun din yung necessity. So, existence of government is a necessity. So it cannot continue without the means to pay its expenses. Okay, pangatlong theory, bakit hindi ka pwedeng tumanggi sa pagbabayad ng buwis? Because you get benefits from the government. Okay? So under this theory, for the benefit and protection received by the taxpayer from the government, the state has the right to demand the payment of tax. Are we clear with the theories ng taxation?
Yes po.
Yes po.
So nobody should, I think ganito naman siya klase. In reality, hindi naman nagiging question kung dapat ba or hindi dapat magbayad ng buwis. Kasi talagang settled yan na issue. Dapat talaga lahat nagbabayad ng buwis. Okay? Ang kadalasan lang naman kaya nagkakaroon ng kaso, the private sector versus the BIR or the government, is kung tama ba ang kinokolekta ng BIR. Kasi pag inassess ka ng BIR, pakiramdam mo minsan hindi tama. Kasi merong abuse yan na portion. Okay? So yun lang ang nagiging issue doon. Pero I think, kung sa question na dapat ba magbabayad ng tax ang private sector? So I think it's well settled naman na lahat dapat magbayad ng tax. Okay? So these theories, lifeblood doctrine, necessity, benefits, protection theory, they justify the collection of taxes. Okay? Yeah. Now, principle of sound taxation system. Sa tingin nyo, class, sa Pilipinas, do we have a sound taxation system? Sa tingin nyo ba maayos ang sistema ng taxation or pagbubuwis sa ating bansa? Let's find out before we answer. Okay? Ang mga principles kasi para masabi mo na maayos ang sistema ng taxation. Number one, dapat it provides fiscal adequacy. It promotes theoretical justice. And finally, it what do you call this? Facilitates administrative feasibility. Ang ibig sabihin ng fiscal adequacy ay sapat or sufficient ang revenue na nakukuha ng gobyerno through taxes. E ang problema, dito pa lang sa fiscal adequacy, parang medyo hindi na okay. Because the government that we have in the Philippines is running in a deficit budget rather than surplus. And the taxes, therefore, are insufficient ang collection. So the new BIR commissioner, she came from Bangko Sentral, appointed by the new president, Marcos, has a very, very challenging task up ahead of her appointment. Okay? So kasi government is running in a deficit budget. At ang problema, to supplement budget, anong gagawin ng gobyerno? Wala na siyang halos maibenta kasi naka-privatize na yung industries na hold ng government. So the resort would be borrowings. Ang problema, 12 trillion na ang utang ng gobyerno. It's the highest as of the record. It's the highest recorded debt ng government. Okay, so I think the economic managers of the Philippines, headed by Secretary Jokno, I hope they'll deal with the challenges successfully. No? Kasi kung hindi, tayo lahat ang apektado niyan. Economy is not a small thing if it collapses. Okay? So, parang dito pa lang bagsak na ang Pilipinas. Theoretical justice. So, kailangan may hustisya sa pagbabayad ng buwis. At may hustisya sa pagbabayad ng buwis kung nagbabayad ng naayon sa kakayanan. Okay? Kung sino ang malaki ang income, sila ang malaki ang babayaran na tax. Is it fair principle? Is it a fair principle? What do you think? Kung sino ang mas may kakayanan, sila ang mas mag-contribute sa nation natin. What do you think? So that's fair. Okay? They benefit more from this organized society. Therefore, they should bear the greater burden, kumbaga, or cost. So that's fair, no? So the next one is it facilitates feasibility. So ibig sabihin, tax laws must be capable of convenient, just, and effective administration. So free from confusion and uncertainty. Kumbaga, malinaw kung ano-ano ang babayaran na tax, kung kailan magbabayad, okay? So madaling i-administer ang taxation system. Okay? Alam nyo, class, dito sa pangalawa, pasado ang sistema natin. Yung number one lang talaga. Problema sa Pilipinas, maraming butas ang economy natin. So you have the black market, the underground market, smuggling pa lang. Marami ng butas. So if the government can, yes, corruption is the other one. If the government can address yung mga loopholes na yan, I think taxes naman that can be generated could be enough for the budgetary requirement. Kung hindi pa enough sa ngayon, at least lalaki siya, liliit yung kailangan utangin. Okay? So until such point na gumanda ang ekonomiya, mas magandang ekonomiya, mas maraming taxes. So until we have a budget surplus. Okay? Ang nation naman is parang household yan plus. So kung kulang ka sa budget, kasi kulang yung income mo, manghiram ka muna sa kapitbahay or sa kakilala, sa kamag-anak. But you have to do something. You have to find ways na maka-generate ng income. Until such point, malaki na ang income mo, mababayaran mo yung utang mo, and economically you're good. So the same thing with the Philippines. So if the Philippines can ramp up yung economy, promoting investments, production, income, employment, so that would be good. No? More taxes will be collected and the government will have sufficient for its budget. Okay? So, yan ang tatlong principles ng magandang sistema sa tax. Okay. Characteristics ng taxes. It's an enforced contribution. Hindi yung kung kailan mo gusto, saka ka lang magbabayad ng buwis. Hindi pwede. Required siya. It's proportionate in character. Base sa kakayanan ng pagbabayad ng tax. It's payable in money. Okay, although the law may allow other form of payment. It's imposed on persons, property, exercise. Alam nyo, class, kaya ako hinighlight in red etong tatlong to because I want you to memorize yung tatlong yan. Okay? Saan imposed ang taxes? Answer, pwedeng sa person, pwedeng sa property, or pwedeng sa exercise. Exercise or excise. That will help you along the way as you learn taxation. And there's a lot of things to learn pa sa taxation. Huwag kayong magtaka, class, kung bakit ang dami-daming taxes na binabayaran. Di ba ang kadalasan nilang complaint, nagbayad ka na ng tax sa ganito, tinax pa ulit, tinax na naman. No? The reason is, hindi lang ikaw as a person ang pwedeng i-tax. Pwedeng yung property mo pa. At pwedeng yung privileges mo or exercises mo ang i-tax. Okay? So, what are the three objects of taxation? Person, property, excise, or exercise, or excise. Okay? So, don't forget, remember that by heart, and that will help you learn more of taxation. In the meantime, that's the answer to the question kung bakit tinax pa ulit. Kasi iba-iba ang objects ng taxation. Could be you as a person, could be your property, or could be your privileges or your exercises of your rights. Okay? It's imposed by the state, of course. It's levied for public purpose. And of course, it's personal to the taxpayer. Now, purposes of taxation. Number one, revenue or fiscal or primary purpose. Other purposes, it could be used to regulate inflation, to achieve economic and social stability, so to serve as a key instrument for social control. You read na lang yung iba dito. So basta pag tinanong ka ng purpose ng taxation, isa lang naman ang purpose niya. To raise revenue for the government. Primarily, no? And other things could be the other purposes. Okay? So, through taxation. Classification of taxes as to subject matter, person, property, excise, or privilege tax. Don't forget itong tatlong to. You have to memorize itong tatlong to. Kaya wag magtaka kung bakit tinax na, tinax pa ulit, at tinax pa ulit. Maybe because it's the person that was taxed in the first instance. At ang sumunod, yung kanyang property. At ang sumunod ay iba't ibang transaction or privileges. Kaya tinax na, natax pa ulit, natax na naman. Okay? Because taxation could have different objects or subjects. Okay? Or subject matter. Now, as to who bears the burden, it could be direct tax or indirect tax. As to purpose, general, fiscal, or revenue, or special purpose. Let me ask you, si Meralco, required siya magbayad ng tax. Income tax, to be specific. Hindi niya pwedeng ipasa sa'yo. Hindi niya pwedeng sabihin, oy, ikaw na ang magbayad ng income tax ko. You file my ITR on my behalf. So how is the burden there? Is it direct to Meralco or indirect? So the payment of income tax is direct. Okay? Pero pag bumili ka sa grocery ng grocery, okay? Yung babayaran mo may kasamang value added tax yun or VAT. Ang required mag-remit nun yung grocery store. Pero ang nag-shoulder ng value added tax ay ikaw. So how was the grocery store taxed? Paano siya tinax doon? So the answer is, Dexter, that's
indirect po, sir.
So indirect. Okay? So those are the kinds of taxes. No? For yung purpose naman na pag-usapan na natin kanina, so fiscal, that's really the primary purpose. A special purpose could be other things na lang. No? So these are the classification of taxes. Up to manner of computation, pwede siyang specific. And the other one is ad valorem, or based on value. The example is value added tax. 12% ang VAT. Pero ang amount niyan depende sa selling price. If the selling price is 10 pesos, then VAT is 1.2. If it is 100, then it becomes 12. So therefore, VAT is an example of ad valorem, okay, na kind of tax. Okay? The other one is specific. We'll discuss na lang this sa ibang topic. Ito yung fixed amount. Okay? Fixed amount. Yeah. As to taxing authority, could be the national government or the local government. Okay? Sa munisipyo, may binabayaran ding tax dyan. Real property, for example. Okay? PTR or professional tax receipt. Okay? As to rate, could be progressive, regressive, or proportionate. Pero sa Pilipinas ay walang regressive na tax. Okay? Ang meron tayo ay progressive at saka proportionate. Okay? Ang progressive ay mas mataas ang rate sa mas malaki ang income, for example. Progressive yun. So mas malaki ang income mo, mas mataas ang tax rate na babayaran. You'll find it sa individual taxation. Ang proportionate naman, fixed yung rate. Okay? So pag malaki ang amount, pag malaki ang amount ng income, even fixed ang rate, mas malaki pa rin yung tax na babayaran. That's proportionate. No? Pero sa Pilipinas, walang regressive na tax because that's not allowed by the Constitution. No? Hindi pwedeng maliit yung income mo, malaki pa ang tax rate mo. Unfair, kumbaga. No? So, yeah. National tax include income, estate, donors, VAT, other percentage tax, excise tax, documentary stamp tax. Okay? Local tax, real property, professional, business taxes, community, tax on banks and other financial institutions. Okay? Don't worry, class, if you don't yet memorize them, that's fine. You don't have to memorize. Just learn lang muna yung mga yan. Okay? Ngayon kasi, general principles to, hindi pa talaga malalim yung understanding nyo yan. Lalalim ang understanding nyo pag natutunan nyo na pati yung specific topics. Okay? So this is sort of overview, introduction. Okay? Okay, have you heard of the word toll? Toll fee?
Yes po.
This is different from tax. Okay? Kasi ang toll fee, bayad mo yan kasi ginamit mo yung something. Kunwari, yung highway, what do you call this? Yung expressway rather. Okay? Or pag dumaan ka ng subdivision na may toll fee because you're using their private property. So, ito yung comparison nilang dalawa. So, basahin nyo na lang to, class. So, okay? So, tax and toll are different. They're not the same. Pag dumaan ka sa isang subdivision at nagbayad ka ng toll, hindi ka pinagbabayad ng tax doon. They're not taxing you. No? So it's only the government that can impose taxes. Diba? Private sector cannot. Rather, it's a toll fee. It's payment for using somebody else's property. Okay? Penalty is also different. Penalty is a form of punishment. Okay? Ito yung comparison nilang dalawa. Although, pag na-late ka ng bayad or hindi ka nagbayad ng tax, pag siningil ka na ng BIR, bukod sa tax na utang mo, pagbabayarin ka pa ng penalty. Okay, but penalty per se is not tax. because penalty is punishment for something someone has violated. Okay, who has violations. No? License fee is a charge imposed by the government body for granting of a privilege. Yeah, okay? So this is the comparison between the two. License is primarily for regulation. Kaya naman, it's exercise of police power. So therefore, it's not really the same as tax. Ito rin yung karamihang na reklamo ng mga motorista. Okay? Sabi ng motorista, nagbabayad na nga ako ng ITR ng income tax. Pagdating ko pa sa LTO, magbabayad pa ako ng lisensya. Okay? Kung professional ka naman, sa kinikita ko as a professional, nagbabayad na ako ng income tax. Tapos pag nag-renew pa ako ng license ko, may license fee pa akong binabayaran. So the two are different. License is not a tax. Okay? But you're paying it because you're exercising a privilege. A privilege to drive a vehicle, a privilege to exercise a profession. Okay, so license is different from tax. Okay? Okay, three kinds of license. So for regulation, okay, of useful occupation or enterprises, for regulation or restriction of non-useful occupation, or for revenue only. Okay, so these are the three kinds of license. Special assessment. I want you to imagine, class, a location na maraming terorista. Terorista talaga. No? Kunwari, bundok yun, no? Bundok. Meron kang lupain doon sa bundok na yun. Okay, so meron kang lupain doon. Do you think may malaking value ang lupa mong yun? Ano sa tingin nyo? Malaki ba ang value ng lupang yun? Kahit siguro sa yung bundok na yun, magagamit mo kaya yun. No? What do you think? Malaki ba ang value ng lupa na meron ka doon sa ganong location? So, hindi. No, kasi hindi mo magagamit, right? Pagpunta mo pa lang doon, baka mangamba ka na kaagad. Okay? Ngayon, ang ginawa ng gobyerno, napaalis niya ang mga bad people doon. Bad elements, kumbaga. As a result, naging accessible yung lugar mo. Construction ng road, yung government. All of a sudden, naging tourist attraction yung lupa mo doon. So from having zero value, naging parang Tagaytay siya or Tanay Highlands. No? So, naging malaki ang value niya. Dahil yon sa gobyerno, tama? So is it fair na singilin ka ng gobyerno ng parang contribution mo dun sa improvement doon sa lupa na yun? That's fair. Ang tawag doon, hindi siya tax. Ang tawag doon is special assessment. Okay? An assessment in the nature of tax. It's also a tax, but it's not really the usual tax. So, levied upon property. according to the benefits conferred on the property. Okay? So that this is the comparison. Special assessment is levied only on land. Okay? So that's called special assessment, and that's only fair. Okay? Debt is an obligation to pay or render services for a period. Okay? So ang utang at saka tax ay magkaiba. Although, pag hindi ka nagbayad ng tax, pwede kang magkaroon ng utang sa tax. Okay? But debt is different. Pag nangutang ka sa bangko, that's just debt, but it's not a tax. Okay? Although debt can arise if you don't pay, you're required to pay na tax. Okay? Now, tariff and customs. Ang taripa ay ito yung listahan or schedule ng mga commodities, tapos yung charges na meron doon. Okay? So saan kadalasan na nag-a-apply itong tariff at customs? Saan siya nag-a-apply kadalasan? Sa importation at of course sa exportation. Okay? Tama? Sa mga products and services, of course. So tariff, nakalagay doon kung ano-ano ang mga commodities, products na pag lumabas or pumasok sa bansa, may corresponding tax na babayaran. Okay? So, ang tariff is also an example of tax. Pero tax is much broader. Okay? Tax includes tariff. But tax includes lang tariff. So, broader ang tax kasi kasama ang tariff sa tax. Okay? And tariff is about import-export. But tax could mean other things, domestic also, no? Not just import-export. Customs means habitual practice. Okay, so ito yung nakalagay yung mga dues dyan. Okay, so essentially the same. Now, impost, assessment, revenue, subsidy. These are the other terms that you may associate with the word tax. Okay? So, imposition, so tax din yan. Okay? Assessment, the process of taxation din yan. Revenue is inflow ng money to the government. Subsidy is government aid. Like your tuition in our university, which is subsidized by the government. Okay? Now, sources of Philippine tax laws. Number one is the Constitution of the Philippines. Ito yung saligang batas. The mother of all the laws, the basic law of the Philippines. Okay? Pag may ginawang batas ang Kongreso, hindi pwedeng or kailangan sumunod or nakaayon sa Constitution. Okay? Otherwise, kung hindi siya constitutional, that law may be voided. Okay? So, pwede siyang i-declare na unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. So, may tax law sa Constitution. Meron din sa statutes. Ito yung legislative laws, no? Meron din sa executive orders issued by the President. May mga treaties din with foreign countries. Revenue regulation by the Department of Finance. BIR, custom revenue memorandum, BIR ruling, judicial decisions, local tax ordinances. So pag may conflict ang tax law at GAAP, ang tax law ang mag-prevail. However, for purposes of financial statement presentation, GAAP prevail over tax law. Pero pagdating sa taxation, taxation should prevail. Kaya ang dalawa, ITR, kasi under tax rules ang ITR. While ang financial statements is under GAAP. They are just reconciled in practice. Okay? So class, ano sa tingin nyo? Is taxation also a study of law? What do you think? Is taxation just an accounting subject, or it's a study of law then? Ano sa tingin niyo? Is taxation a study of law? The answer is yes. Okay? So ang law subjects nyo, tatandaan nyo, no? Ang law subjects nyo, hindi lang yung mga obligation and contracts, partnership corporation, hindi lang yun ang mga law subjects nyo. Taxation is also part of your law subjects. Kaya nung time ko, yung taxation at saka law ay isang subject lang siya sa board exam. Because taxation is also a study of law. Okay? Tama lang kasi the taxation process, di ba, starts with a legislative act. BIR cannot just decide on its own na mangolekta ng taxes. There's a law that authorizes them. Okay? Kaya maraming mga tax practitioners na after becoming a CPA, they proceed to studying law or they become lawyers. No? So kung you're interested with the practice of taxation na malalim talaga, pati litigation kung gusto nyo, tax litigation, you can proceed to studying law. Okay? But if not, then being a practitioner as an accountant is enough. Enough naman. No? Okay, so types of administrative issuances. Revenue regulations are issued by Department of Finance upon the recommendation of BIR. Meron tinatawag na RMOs, galing sa BIR yan. Meron ding Revenue Memorandum Rulings. We don't have to memorize this class kasi marami-rami to. May encounter nyo rin sila sa ibang topics pa, kaya don't worry, okay? You'll just be acquainted lang muna sa mga to. You'll memorize them naturally, okay? So, Revenue Memorandum Circular, okay, meron din yan. Bulletins, no? BIR rulings. If you want to see them in flesh, just visit the website of BIR. And you'll see there the revenue issuances of the BIR. If you want customs, then go to the website of Bureau of Customs. Okay. Requisites of lawful exercise of taxing power. Kailangan ang taxation ay for public purpose. Kung sa tingin nyo ang pagbabayad ng tax, kung sa tingin nyo ang isang tax law ay para sa private individual, hindi talaga siya for public purpose, pwedeng questionin yan sa Supreme Court. Okay? So, therefore, pwede siyang ma-invalidate. Yan. Okay? So, one of the requisites is dapat for public purpose. Dapat uniform ang pag-observe. Okay? Hindi pwedeng ako lang ang itatax, ikaw hindi. If we belong in the same class, then dapat the rule of taxation should apply to both of us. The application must be uniform. Okay? Hindi pwedeng ang nagbabayad ng corporate income tax ay si Meralco lang, si Jollibee, porket masarap yung pagkain niya, exempted na siya. So hindi pwede yun. The rule of taxation must be uniformly applied. Either the person or the property tax is within the jurisdiction of the government. So, syempre, ang pwedeng i-tax ng Philippine government ay ang Pilipinas lang. Hindi pwedeng i-tax niya ang Japan. Okay? That's already encroachment of another sovereignty. Okay? So, in the assessment and collection of certain kinds of taxes, notice and opportunity for hearing are provided. So, meaning to say, there is due process. Okay? So, kung ikaw si Philippine government, how do you exercise rightfully, lawfully, your taxing power? Number one, when you raise taxes, the taxes are meant to be for public purpose. Second, it should not discriminate, meaning you should apply the tax law uniformly. And you should exercise it within your jurisdiction. Okay? And the last one is you provide due process. Okay? So, hindi pwedeng may lalabagin ka sa mga yon. Otherwise, you're not rightfully exercising your taxation power. Okay? Inherent limitations. Limited sa territorial jurisdiction of the taxing power or yung kanyang situs. Okay? Pangalawa, you observe international committee. Later, i-discuss natin to ng mas malalim. For public purpose, non-delegability, wala yung I, of the taxing power. Then recognized tax exemption of government entities. Question class, para malinaw tayo before we proceed. Ang pag-exercise ba ng taxation power ay walang limitations or meron?
Meron po.
So, meron. At actually, dalawang klase siya as mentioned earlier. Dalawang klase ang limitations. Number one, inherent limitations. At ang pangalawa ay constitutional limitations. What we have in the slide are the 5 inherent limitations. Okay? So what are the 5 inherent limitations? Unang-una, meron siyang what? Territorial jurisdiction. Does that make sense? May limit lang pala ang kapangyarihan ko na mag-tax. At ang limit niya, dito lang sa teritoryo ko. Kung ako si Philippine government. Does it make sense? Okay. So that is, anong tawag dyan? The situs of taxation. When we say situs of taxation, it's the place of taxation. We determine the subject matter, the nature of tax, citizenship, residence. Yan. Anong tawag dito? Saka na lang natin discuss yung specifics ito. Kasi depende yan kung income tax yan or okay? Parang ganito yan eh. Ang mga OFWs, tinatax din ba sila sa Pilipinas? Yun yung tanong doon, di ba? Okay? May jurisdiction ba ang Pilipinas doon? So we'll find out sa ibang topics natin. Pero the point is, may limit ang power mo to tax within your territory. If you're located here in the Philippines, dito lang ang i-tax mo. Huwag yung ibang nations. Okay? Factor to determine the situs depende sa kind or classification of tax, the situs of the thing, the citizenship, the residence, the source, the situs of the excise. Just to answer the question I raised, ang mga OFW ba tinatax sa Pilipinas? Yes, Pat? What do you think?
Sir, ang alam ko po, yung mga OFW po na ang income po nila is hindi po nanggagaling sa Philippines. Hindi po sila parang need mag-pay ng tax. Pero kung ang income po nila is nanggagaling po within the Philippines, sila po yung mga OFW po na kailangan magbayad ng tax.
So that's correct, no? Perfect. So if you are an OFW, yung salaries mo abroad, kasi abroad mo naman yung kinita, di ba? Walang jurisdiction ang Pilipinas dyan. So therefore, hindi itatax ng Pilipinas yan. Pero kung OFW ka, tapos meron kang pinaparentahan na apartment dito sa Pilipinas, may jurisdiction ng Pilipinas doon kasi yung property located sa Pilipinas. Yung kinita ng property na yon na ikaw yung may-ari, kahit nasa abroad ka pa, since ang property ay nasa Pilipinas, itatax yun ng Pilipinas. May jurisdiction siya doon. Pero yung salary mo doon sa employer mo at render mo naman yung service mo sa employer mo abroad, ibang nation na yun. Wala nang jurisdiction doon ng government ng Pilipinas. So hindi na siya tinatax. Okay? So that's therefore important limitation sa power ng taxation ng Pilipinas. Yung kanyang situs or the territorial jurisdiction. Okay? Ito, you read them na lang. Different types of properties have different situs. I'll skip na this one kasi tungkol din yan sa situs. Nilagay ko lang to para mabasa nyo, but you learn them specifically when we discuss the specific topics ng tax. Okay? Ano yung pangalawang inherent limitation? Di ba the first one is territorial. Ang power mo, territorial. The second is what?
Observance of international committee.
Observance of international committee. Yung constitutional, later pa yan. We're just discussing the five, tama ba? The five inherent limitations. Yes. So this was number one, yung kanina territorial jurisdiction. Second is observance of international committee. What is this? What is international committee? Ang ibig sabihin nito is respect or equality among nations. Okay? is based on the principle of parem parem non habet imperio. Okay? Equals do not have authority over one another. One nation is equal to another. Even the other one is economically advanced. Like the US versus the Philippines. Even if US is economically advanced, we're supposed to be equal. US and the Philippines. Okay? So therefore, if we are equal, wag mo akong i-tax. Tama? Kasi pag tinax mo ako, parang ginagawa mo akong subject mo. You don't rule over me. If you tax me, then you're ruling over me. So that's respect to one another because we are supposed to be equal. Okay? So ginagawang under. So hindi siya dapat gano'n. So there's therefore this international respect, and that is international comity or friendliness. Okay? Kaya naman, under our tax law, ang income ng foreign government exempt siya. Okay? So kunwari, ang US Embassy nag-deposit kay Banco de Oro. Kumita ang deposit na yon. So hindi pwedeng i-tax yun ng gobyerno natin. Kasi ang tinatax mo doon yung US. So you're not subjugating or US is not your subject. Okay? So that is second limitation. You observe international comity. The third, dapat per public purpose ang taxes. Para matest kung per public purpose, is it the duty of the government or for promotion ng general welfare? So para malaman mo kung duty ng government, for public purpose yan, check mo kung duty ba yan ng state. Okay? Another one is for general welfare siya. It promotes the welfare of the community. Illustration. Wait lang, before we proceed there. Huwag na tayong lumayo, class. Huwag na tayong lumayo. Yung tuition nyo is subsidized by the government. So ang nagbe-benefit dyan, primarily, are the residents of Rizal, Binangonan, Angono, and other Rizal cities and municipalities. Kung taga Cavite ka, hindi ka nakikinabang sa subsidy ng gobyerno kay URS. So yung tax na ginamit sa pag-subsidize ng tuition nyo, was it for public purpose? Ano sa tingin niyo? Kasi para lang sa mga Rizaleño yan. For public purpose ba yan? Mali ba ang gobyerno? Sige, let me repeat. Di ba ang pinang-subsidize sa tuition nyo galing sa tax yan? Pero ang nakikinabang lang, kayong mga taga-Rizal. Pero ang tax na siningil, galing yan sa iba-ibang lugar ng bansa. Nationwide yan. or galing sa Metro Manila. For public purpose ba ang paggamit ng tax? For public purpose ba ang paggamit ng tax? The answer is yes. Okay? Although somebody can argue na hindi. Pero, duty kasi ng gobyerno na magbigay ng public education. Di ba? So, pasado siya dito. Okay? Pasado rin siya for me dito. Because it's for the community in equal measure. It's not just for a specific person. Okay? So, that's still for public purpose. Kahit na national tax ang ginamit dyan na para sa mga taga-Rizal. Okay? So, ito pa yung ibang illustration, you can read them na lang. Eradication of disease. No? Yan. Okay? Next, non-delegability of taxing power. Potestas delegata non-delegare potest. What has been delegated cannot be delegated. Okay? So the rule barring delegation of legislative power is subject to the following recognized limitations. Wait lang. Diba si legislative ang may power no, to enact laws. So hindi niya pwedeng i-delegate yan kay BIR. Kasi na-delegate na sa kanya yun. So what has been delegated cannot be delegated. Okay? Except dito. Kung pagdating sa tariff, na kay executive siya, kay president. Supposedly kay legislative. But except for tariff. Emergency powers, delegation to the people at large, exceptions ito. Local government, administrative bodies. Okay? So sino ang primarily nag-exercise ng taxation power? Which branch of the government? It's the legislative. Okay? Hindi pwedeng i-delegate ng Congress kay BIR ang paggawa ng tax law. Because what has been delegated can no longer be delegated. Okay? So, ito yung test ng valid delegation. We can skip that. Okay? So, tandaan nyo, class, pag may bagong batas sa tax, si Congress, dinidefine niya ang coverage niyan, ang object, ang situs, ang rate or extent, and the nature or its kind. Hindi pwedeng gagawa siya ng batas tapos hindi malinaw. Okay? So kailangan these areas are properly defined. So can be delegated to administrative agency. The power to value property, pag-assess, yan, okay? Collection, so computations, yung mga ganyan. Kasi these are purely administrative in nature. Pero the lawmaking, the levying, the making of tax laws, so kailangan hindi siya i-delegate. Kailangan kay legislative yan. Okay, the fifth inherent limitation, recognized tax exemption of the government entities. Ang reason, class, bakit to limitation is hindi mo pwedeng i-tax ang sarili mo. Government ang nag-i-impose ng tax, so hindi pwedeng i-tax mo ang sarili mo. Okay? So, exemption from tax ng mga governmental entities, agencies, instrumentalities. Okay? Pero yung mga may proprietary function, they're subject to tax unless expressly exempted. Okay, ito mga example. Yung bangko dyan sa URS, sa labas, yung land bank, anong function ng land bank? Is it governmental or proprietary? Anong function ng land bank? Governmental or proprietary?
Government po, sir.
Land bank kasi is banking, di ba? Banking is they're earning profit kasi. So, land bank is actually proprietary. Okay? So, therefore, ano ang land bank? Tax exempt or subject to tax? Land bank is subject to tax. So, this is the example, Land Bank of the Philippines. Are you familiar with BSP? Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Ano ang purpose ng BSP? Governmental or proprietary? BSP is governmental kasi nagre-regulate ang BSP. Hindi talaga siya for earning profit. So what is BSP? BSP is tax what? Exempt. Okay? So in general, pag mga government agencies yan, especially those performing governmental, exempt sila sa tax. Kasi no need na i-tax mo yung sarili mo. Diba? Okay? Unless you're performing proprietary, so para kang private sector, then generally you're subject to tax. Okay? So, kadalasan ng government exempt. Kasi pag tinax mo ang sarili mo, what's gonna happen? You're just getting money from one of your pockets and putting it in another. So it doesn't make sense. Okay? So those are the 5 inherent limitations. So with the question, ang tax ba ay unlimited ang pag-exercise or it has limitations? Ang sagot, meron siyang limitations. Hindi siya unlimited. Number 1, may mga inherent limitation siya. Pangalawa, meron siyang constitutional limitations. Okay? Ang inherent niya ay number 1, territorial lang yan. Second, you respect other government, international committee, di ba? Pangatlo, kailangan for public purpose yung tax mo. Okay? Pang-apat, hindi mo pwedeng i-delegate yung taxing power sa ibang branches. Kasi na-delegate na yan kay legislative. Except for admin purposes. And finally, okay, what's the 5th limitation? Inherent limitation. The 5th one is this, di ba? The limit is don't tax yourself. Di ba? Kasi that's just doesn't make sense. Getting money from one pocket, then putting it in another. Unless the government entity performs proprietary functions. Okay? Now, what are the constitutional limitations? Question pala, class. Nag-take na ba kayo ng subject ng Philippine Constitution? Or hindi pa?
Hindi pa po.
Hindi pa. Okay. So, but I think meron kayo niyan kasi dapat meron yan. Constitution. Diba? So that's fine. You'll have the Constitution. That's the basic law of the land. It's the mother of all the laws. Yan yung pinaka-framework ng batas natin. Okay? So we still have the 1987 Constitution. Okay? Pag gumagawa ng batas ang Congress natin, they conform sa Constitution. Kaya pag gumawa sila ng tax laws, they conform to the Constitution. If a law is unconstitutional, that law is invalid. Okay? So therefore, when you exercise your taxing power, you comply with the provisions of the Constitution. That's why there's what we call constitutional limitation to your taxing power. And number one is the due process. Okay? Ang requirement kasi ng Constitution, merong due process. So pag naningil si BIR, kailangan may due process. Hindi pwedeng inassess, bayad agad kung hindi kulong agad. Hindi pwede yun. No person shall be denied of the equal protection of the laws. Hindi pwedeng si ganito entitled sa gantong privilege. Si ganito hindi. Equal ang protection ng batas. No law shall be passed abridging freedom of speech. Hindi pwedeng, dapat malaki ang tax ng ABS. Okay? Kaysa kay Meralco. You know, they're both corporate entities, so they should be taxed in the same way. Okay? Ito naman sa religion, there's what we call, di ba? Separation of the state and the church. Okay, so, yeah. No law impairing obligation of contract shall be passed. Okay? Hindi pwedeng i-impair. So, kailan daw violated ang due process? Ito yung examples. Okay, violated siya kung example na lang dito, no? Masyadong arbitrary, oppressive, beyond the jurisdiction. So, yan. Okay. Equal protection. So, can skip this one. And read na lang the other things, no? Let me continue now with this. Okay, ito naman yung specific. No person shall be imprisoned for debt or non-payment of full tax. Ito yung sedula na tinatawag. Full tax. Walang nakukulong dapat sa utang. At wala ding nakukulong dahil hindi ka nagbayad ng full tax. Okay? Pero ang sabi lang doon, anong klaseng tax lang yung walang kulong? Yung sedula or yung full tax. Pero pag yung income tax ang hindi mo binayaran at inassess ka ng BIR at hindi mo pa rin binayaran, kinasuhan ka na at hindi mo pa rin binayaran, pwede kang makulong sa hindi pagbayad ng income tax. Okay? Pero pag hindi ka nagbayad ng sedula, walang kulong yun. Pero pag hindi ka nagbayad ng other taxes, merong kulong yun. Okay? Then, all appropriation, revenue, or tariff bills, yan. Ito yung tax laws, shall originate exclusively in the House of Representatives. But the Senate may propose or concur with amendments. Okay, so kanino nang gagaling dapat yung mga tax measures, tax laws? Sa upper chamber or sa lower chamber of the House of Congress? Ang sagot, dapat sa lower muna. Okay? Kaya pag may mga bagong batas sa tax, sinisimulan yan subversion ni House of Representatives. Hindi pwedeng subversion ni Senate. Okay? The reason is, ang Senate, konti lang sila. They may not represent the entirety of the Philippines. Unlike the House of Representatives that represents the entire Philippines. Okay? Pangatlong limitation is specific or direct. So yung pagiging uniform niya at equitable. So it should evolve progressive system of taxation. Kanina sabi ko sa inyo, anong taxation system meron tayo? Progressive lang at saka proportionate. Sa Pilipinas, walang regressive. Regressive kung mas mababa yung income mo, mas mataas yung tax rate mo. Bawal yun under the Constitution. Okay? Okay, so fourth, the Congress may by law authorize the President to fix yung tariff rates. Charitable institutions, churches, mga ganito, yung lupa nila, buildings, improvements, actually directly exclusively used for religious, charitable, educational purposes shall be exempt from taxation. Yung lupa, building nila, pati improvements. It refers to RPT, Real Property Tax. So question class, sa tingin nyo si URS nagbabayad ng real property tax? Or hindi? Ano sa tingin nyo? Ang URS ba ay nagbabayad ng tax or hindi? So, answer ay hindi. Dahil, siya ay for what purpose? Educational purpose. So, tatlo yun, religious, charitable, or educational purposes. Okay? So, hindi siya nagbabayad ng RP. Exempt from RP. Pero ako, let's say may lupa ako dyan sa Binangonan, should I pay RPT? The answer is yes. Di ba? Hindi naman ako exempted from paying RPT. Pero kung nagtayo ako ng eskwelahan dyan sa URS, kunwari isang daycare center, so yung lupa at yung buildings ng eskwelahan na yon, magbabayad ba yun ng RPT or hindi? Ano sa tingin niyo? Meron akong tinayong eskwelahan, so magbabayad ba ako or yung eskwelahan na yon ng RPT, Real Property Tax? Anong gamit ng lupang yon? Eskwelahan ang nakatayo doon. For what purpose? Yung lupa na yun, for educational. The answer is, kahit ako ang nagtayo, ang purpose kasi ang tinitignan doon. So, ang sagot, exempt pa rin yun. Hindi pa rin ako magbabayad, or yung eskwelahan na yun, hindi pa rin siya magbabayad ng RPT. Ang importante, yung kanyang purpose. we can skip na this one. No? So this is number 6. No law granting any tax exemption shall be passed without the concurrence of the majority of all the members of the Congress. Okay? The Congress shall have the power to define, prescribe, and apportion the jurisdiction of the various courts, but may not deprive the Supreme Court ng lahat ng cases involving tax. Okay? No public money or property shall ever be appropriated para sa mga church kasi nga there is separation of church and the state. Number 9, lahat ng revenue, lahat ng assets ng non-stock, non-profit na educational institution ay exempt daw from taxes and duties. Okay? Pag non-stock, non-profit, pati income niya, wala siyang babayaran na tax. Okay? So, proprietary education institution, pwede rin siya maging entitled. So, subject to conditions prescribed by law, lahat ng grants, endowments, donation, or contribution used actually, directly, and exclusively for public, for educational purposes shall be exempt from tax. Okay? Now, let's discuss plus yung pinatawag na double taxation. Direct may be unconstitutional. It violates uniformity rule or the equal protection guarantee. Indirect, so, or the broad sense, as long as it follows the rule of uniformity, walang valid objection for taxing the same income, business, or property twice. So we're now on the topic of double taxation. So doble siyang na tax. So ano yung dalawang klase ng double taxation? Direct, which is the strict sense, and indirect, the broad sense. Ano ang bawal sa Constitution? Pero hindi siya expressly bawal eh. Maybe lang, maybe. Because it may violate uniformity rule. Okay? So, direct. Okay, pero pag indirect, as long as observe yung constitutional rule on uniformity, valid yan. Okay? Okay, so double taxation means taxing a person or property or rights twice within the same year by the same taxing authority within the same jurisdiction. And finally, for the same purpose. These are examples. So corporate income and stockholders' dividend. Hindi siya double taxation kasi number 1, magkaiba ang corporation at magkaiba ang stockholders. National tax and local tax, magkaiba ng taxing authority. Real estate tax and income tax, okay? So magkaibang properties. Wait lang, let me check kung gaano pa kahaba. Let's have a short break lang, class. 10 minutes maybe, okay? Kasi medyo 10
Yes
minutes.
po.
Maka-rest tayo ng
Yes,
konti.
yes po.
So, let's be back at, sige, hanggang 10, 14 minutes. Okay? See you later. Remaining points, no, dito sa topic na to. So, do you see my presentation now?
Yes,
Yes
po.
po.
Okay, so we are at double taxation, no? Concept. Per se, wala talagang prohibition sa double taxation sa Constitution. Yun nga lang pagka yung strict talaga siya or yung direct na double taxation, pwede siyang maging unconstitutional. So, violating uniformity rule or equal protection guarantee. Pero, kailangan i-question pa yan sa Supreme Court. Okay? Pag may ganong pinasang batas ang Congress natin. Okay? Pero yung indirect, as long as uniform ang rule niyan, pwedeng valid ang ganyang tax law. No? So, kaya naman para ma-question mo talaga kung double taxation siya, dapat tinax ang person, property, or rights ng 2 beses within the same year, same taxing authority, within the same jurisdiction, and for the same purpose. So pag lahat to present, saka lang pwedeng masabi na direct yung double taxation. So tandaan nyo, dito sa mga to, kunwari, corporate income, tinax na, nung dinistribute as dividends sa stockholder, tinax pa ulit. Tandaan nyo, walang double taxation doon dahil magkaiba naman ang tinax. Yung una, yung corporation yung tinax. Pangalawa, yung stockholder ang tinax. So magkaibang object yun. Different persons. Kaya walang double taxation doon. Okay? Dito naman magkaibang nag-tax. Ang nag-tax dito ay national government tapos local government. So pag magkaibang taxing authority, walang double taxation doon. Okay? Dito real estate tax, income tax, so same real estate property. Okay, so magkaiba pa rin yan. No? So example class, example. Meron kang apartment na pinaparentahan. Sa nakolekta mong rent, nagbayad ka ng income tax. Okay? Doon sa property naman, nagbayad ka ng RPT or Real Property Tax. Hindi yun double taxation. Kasi magkaibang income tax. Okay? Tax yun sa income, of course. Iba naman yung RPT kasi RPT tax yun doon sa property. So hindi ka pwede magreklamo na double taxation siya. Hindi siya double taxation. Okay? Indirect lang yun. At ang indirect, valid siya. So anong klaseng double taxation yung pwede mong i-question sa Supreme Court? Yung tinatawag na what? Direct or strict sense na double taxation. Pero para masabi na double taxation, ano dapat ang doble? Dapat doble ang same year siya, same taxing authority, same jurisdiction, same purpose. Okay? Otherwise, kung magkakaiba naman yan, ibang year, ibang taxing authority, ibang jurisdiction, ibang purpose, then therefore, hindi siya double taxation. Katulad ng mga examples dito. Okay? So, So, ibang persons to, corporate and stockholder, ibang taxing authority, national government versus local government, ibang purpose, real estate, at saka income tax, ibang purpose yun. So, therefore, walang double taxation. How to avoid double taxation? So, pwede mag-grant ang law ng exemption, pwede magbigay ng tax credit, pwede magbigay ng deduction. Okay? So, o kaya, mabawasan yung Philippine tax rate. Example plus, I don't know kung familiar kayo sa case. Si Manny Pacquiao dati, nagkaroon siya ng issue, di ba, sa taxation sa BIR. Hindi raw siya nagbayad ng tax sa Pilipinas sa income niya sa fights niya abroad. Okay, so ang issue niya doon, nagbayad na raw kasi siya sa US. Okay? So, pag nagbayad pa siya sa Pilipinas, magkakaroon na raw ng double taxation. Ano sa tingin nyo? Valid ba yung naging reason doon ni Mr. Manny Pacquiao? Was there really double taxation?
Hindi po.
So, ang sagot hindi, no? Ang rason dahil magkaiba naman ng ano. Bakit hindi siya strictly double taxation? So, Christine?
Hindi po siya same jurisdiction or yung place po nung pinag-anuhan ng tax is hindi po
Okay.
parehas.
So, different jurisdiction, different place, different taxing authority. So, perfect. Okay? Pero, ang tawag lang doon, hindi siya strict na double taxation. Indirect lang siya. Pero para ma-reduce ang double taxation, ang ginawa dapat ng, or indirect double taxation, ang ginawa dapat ng accountant ni Mr. Manny Pacquiao, di ba nagbayad kasi siya sa US? Dapat nag-file pa rin siya sa Pilipinas, tapos ang binayad niya sa US, binawas niya na lang through this one, through a tax what? Credit for foreign taxes na binayaran niya. So that is one way that you can avoid double taxation. Okay? So escape from taxation. You can shift the burden of taxation. You can transform the taxation. You can avoid or minimize. The other one is you can evade or you can dodge. Kaso lang, this is illegal. Okay, this is illegal. So there are different ways to escape taxation. So through shifting, through transformation, through avoidance, and the last one is through tax evasion. Kaso lang, tax evasion is illegal. Okay? So, shifting of tax burden. So, transfer of burden, not the payment, but the burden of tax from statutory taxpayer to another without violating the law. Okay? So, all indirect taxes like VAT, percentage tax, may be shifted, but not the direct tax. Hindi siya pwedeng i-shift. Okay? So, pwedeng forward ang shifting, that's from manufacturer to retailer to consumer. Example ay yung sa grocery store. No? Sino ang required na mag-remit kay BIR ng VAT? Is it the grocery store or the buyer? It's the grocery store. No? Pero anong ginagawa ng grocery para hindi siya ang mag-shoulder ng burden ng pagbabayad ng VAT. Although siya ang nagre-remit, ang ginagawa niya, sinasama niya saan? Sa selling price. Pinapa-shoulder kay buyer. No? So, sinisingil kay buyer. So, therefore, sinishift niya kay buyer or consumer yung burden ng tax. Although, siya pa rin ang magre-remit kay BIR. So, that's one way to escape tax burden through forward shifting. Pwede naman backward, so the opposite, consumer to retailer to manufacturer. Onward is shifting 2 or more times, either forward or backward. Pag backward lang, ang ibig sabihin nun, kung ikaw yung seller or manufacturer, babawasan mo ang selling price mo. Yun nga lang, babawi ka sa volume. Di ba? Ganun ang ginagawa ng mga ibang matatalinong negosyante. They reduce the price so that they can sell more. So that is backward shifting. Okay? If there happens to be forward or backward 2 or more times, then that is onward shifting. Okay? Now, there's this impact versus incidence of taxation. Ang impact, ito yung point ng original imposition. Kung kanino siya formally assessed. Ang incidence, kung kanino yung tax burden finally napunta or nag-rest. Example, sa VAT, kay seller siya, merong impact, pero ang burden talaga ay naipasa kay buyer. Okay? So yung incidence nandun kay buyer. Pero yung impact ay na kay seller. Now, transformation is the manufacturer absorbs the burden of tax to maintain market share to recover the tax as expense. So, by improving the process of production. Now, tax evasion versus tax avoidance. So, the other name, tax evasion, is known as tax dodging. This is illegal and punishable by law. Okay? So, escape payment of tax. Tax avoidance is tax minimization, use of legal means, not punishable by law. You merely minimize your payment of tax. Question class, kung kayo ay magpa-practice ng tax, what would you advocate for your client? They avoid or they evade tax? Avoid na lang, no? Kasi that's legal, no? Kami, ang ginagawa namin, we offer our clients tax compliance review. So we can review their tax processes. We check kung ano yung pwede nilang maayos at ma-avoid yung mga tax exposures. Okay? So, ito kasi magkakaroon ka pa ng kaso dito yung client mo. So, don't advocate for this. Okay? Tax avoidance is the way to go. Now, tax administration, this refers to management of tax system. Okay? Interpretation and construction of tax statutes. Pag nag-i-impose ng tax, it's against the government. Sinong pinapaboran? Taxpayer or government? When it comes to tax imposition, it's the taxpayer. Pero pagdating sa tax exemption, it's strictly against the taxpayer. So sino naman ang pinapaboran doon? Pagdating sa tax exemption, it's the government. Okay? Tax deduction is the same as tax exemption. Kaya it's also against the taxpayer. Tandaan nyo, class, when you interpret tax law, it depends whether the law is about tax imposition or tax exemption or tax deduction. Okay? So, yun yung rule dyan. No? Pag magpapataw ng buwis, it's against the government. Nasa government yung burden na linawin kung ano ang ipapataw nila, kung kani-kanino ipapataw, magkano ang ipapataw na buwis. So it's against the government. Okay? Pero kung yung taxpayer ay bibigyan ng exemption, tax holiday, okay, deductions from the taxes, magiging entitled siya sa mga benefits na yon. So kailangan malinaw na malinaw sa batas na talagang entitled ang taxpayer doon. Kasi that is strictly against the taxpayer. Okay? Sources of revenue. So, income tax, yung nasa... by the way, if you're not familiar, NIRC stands for National Internal Revenue Code. Okay? So ang nandyan na mga taxes, income tax, estate and donors, VAT, other percentage tax, excise taxes, doc stamp, and other taxes collected by the BIR. For this semester, ang subject natin ay tungkol dito. The rest will be next semester. Second sem yan. Okay? So income tax is quite broad. That it's gonna take us a semester to finish. Okay? Now, power of the commissioner to interpret tax laws and to decide tax cases. The power to interpret the provisions of the tax code ay nasa exclusive at original jurisdiction ng commissioner ng BIR. Subject, of course, sa review ng Secretary of Finance. So pag tinanong ka, ang BIR ay under which department? It's under the Department of Finance. Okay? So the power to decide on the disputed assessment, nasa power din yan ng commissioner. We'll have a separate topic dedicated para sa tax administration. Okay, just, an introduction. Compensation and set-off. Taxes are not subject to set-off or legal compensation. The government and the taxpayer are not mutual creditor and debtor of each other. Kunwari, class, meron kang negosyo dyan sa Binangonan. Supplier ka ng government. May utang sa'yo ang government, therefore. Pwede mo pang sabihin, hindi ako magbabayad ng tax kasi may utang pa nga sa akin yung government. Bawal yun. No? The two of you are not debtor and creditor of each other. So you pay your taxes and you collect your receivables from the government separately. Okay? You cannot demand na hindi ako magbabayad kasi may utang ka pa sa akin. Okay? So, the doctrine of equitable recoupment finds no application in the Philippines. Alam mo, kung i-allow kasi yan, na pwedeng hindi ka magbayad kasi may utang pa siya sa iyo, okay? Madi-derail ang collection ng taxes ng government. And we cannot afford that kasi government has a lot of functions, a lot of regulations to do. And to do them, taxes are needed. Okay? So kailangan hindi i-delay ang pagbabayad ng tax. Compromise. Making reciprocal concessions to avoid litigation or put an end to one already commenced. This is a reduction of taxpayers' liability. So allowed yung commissioner to do that. Okay? Kunwari, in-assess ka ng 1 million. So you can enter into a compromise agreement with the BIR, and the two of you can agree na ang babayaran mo na lang ay lower that amount. But of course, both of the parties should be able to reach an agreement before the compromise tax. Okay? Tax amnesty. This is waiver of government of its right to collect. Never favored nor presumed in law. Strictly construed against the taxpayer. So from time to time, may program na ganito ang government. Makikita nyo yung kadalasan sa munisipyo. So hindi ka nagbayad ng amilyar or RPT the last 10 years. So pwede magbigay ng amnesty ang government. Ang bayaran mo na lang yung the last 5 years or this year. I-waive niya na yung ibang taon. So that program is authorized dapat ng government. Okay, hindi yan ina-assume. Hindi ka pwedeng pumunta ng munisipyo at sabihin mo, yung babayaran ko na lang yung this year. So yung prior years, waive na lang. So hindi. Dapat may law yan, mayroon yung program for compromise or for the waiver. Okay? Of tax amnesty. So this is the comparison between amnesty and exemption. They are similar to each other. Okay? Okay, exemption versus exclusion. Parehas silang never favored nor presumed in law. Strictly construed against the taxpayer. Okay? The reason is government loses revenue. So therefore, nawawalan ng pera ang gobyerno dyan. So it's not favorable to the government and to the nation. So it's not favored in law or presumed in law. So that's why if you're a taxpayer, if you're entitled to exemption, you must really be able to show na you are really entitled to it. Otherwise, you're not entitled to it. Okay? So we're done actually with this topic. Now, I'd like to tell you that medyo binilisan ko talaga ang discussion sa first topic. Kasi mga general principles lang naman yan. We are not meant to devote a lot of time there. Okay? Kasi sayang yung oras pag sobra kang nag-devote. We will devote much of our time sa mga susunod na topics. Okay? So, we are done for this morning. Okay? I'll send the next module after this class. So let's have class picture na for this. Okay? So you may open now your camera so that you can be seen sa pictures. So I hope naintindihan nyo naman kahit mabilis siya. Okay, that's why it's important na you do your readings in advance. You don't, wag nyo akong sabayan sa pagbabasa. Dapat you do your readings in advance. Okay? So who's gonna take yung class picture natin? Sige, who's taking the picture?
Sige po, ako na po, sir.
Sige, ready.
Smile po. Okay na po.
Okay. So I'll see you next week. No? You wait na lang for the second module. Thank you.
Thank you po.
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 Thank you po.